Green Pinky Gardener here, and in this video I will be doing my May update of my backyard garden. So I am just about to leave for a 3-week long trip, and I had to get everything ready and set up for my dad just to water it for the next 3 weeks. And this year I decided to set up my irrigation. So it's just a drip irrigation system, so it's like basically just tubing throughout the garden with drip emitters and all that kind of stuff. Now I hope it's worth it. I did set it up a couple years ago. Last year I didn't, because it's just so tedious to set up. And after this year, I'm never going to set it up again. I'm not going to remove it for the winter time. Just forget about it. It's just too much trouble, right? I just hope it's worth it. Apparently it does save you water, in the long run, prevents a lot of evaporation. So in this bed, I have mainly my Italian pole beans I'm going to grow up along this makeshift trellis that I made out of chicken wire. In the middle of both of my vegetable beds, I planted a walking stick cabbage. Since it will grow really tall, I figured, I figured that I wouldn't have to make so much effort to reach right into the middle of it. And then I have some, random stuff in here, leeks in this bed. You can't really see much because they're small. So I'll show you close. There's one right there. And some more bush beans along there. Excuse that pole. And those are the Royal Burgundy variety. And some more beans along here. I think those are just the golden wax over there. Moving along to this bed, I'm growing half of my cucumbers here. So the varieties I'm growing are like lemon, it's a round yellow cucumber, and crystal white, which is a white kind of short slicing cucumber, and Space Master, which is apparently a kind of a dwarf variety, but I'm not too sure about that. And then I'm growing some onions along the perimeter of my walking stick cabbage, some Napa cabbages, more pole beans, and actually I have a lot of volunteer calendula from last year that came up, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, that's about for this bed. Along here is my flower bed. This year I'm growing milkweed or butterfly weed, just to attract some monarch butterflies, hopefully. Under that plastic cup is my last 2 sunflower seedlings. I had another 3 over there, but some animal or bug ate it completely, unfortunately. And some more flowers there. I'm going to grow hollyhock, hopefully. I think there is one seedling there. Hopefully it grows. And here is chrysanthemum greens, and they're coming up pretty well. It's supposed to be a very healthy Chinese vegetable that has a very strong, pungent flavor. So I'm not a big fan of it, but I think my grandfather likes it, so I'll just give it to him, really. Here is, sunken in containers. I have, I believe, 2 walking stick cabbages there, and then 2 red Russian kales over here, and then this is one of my red curry winter squashes. And as you can see, there's the drip emitters from my irrigation. So everything is all attached to the irrigation. So in theory, I will not have to water by hand, at least in the backyard at all, and even in the front. But actually I can't, because the irrigation is attached to the hose, so I can't even use the hose anymore. This is my festival squash. It's doing okay. And along here are mainly all my tomatoes. I still have a few more in the containers and whatnot. And the varieties I'm growing. See, I labeled it. So this is my dark cherry plants. One of my indigo apples, which is the purple cherry type tomato. Kellogg's Breakfast, which is a bright orange beefsteak. Brandywine, a classic. Really excited to taste that. And this is a pineapple, which I grew last year. Now it's looking really good, and they're actually starting to flower, which is really awesome. Another indigo apple. This is a green hybrid, so it's just a green tomato. Another Brandywine. Another Kellogg's Breakfast. This is a zebra or bumblebee cherry type tomato. Brandywine, and then a chocolate cherry. And then I do have a few radishes along here from the early spring that just grew so slowly because the weather was a bit crazy. And this is my grapevine that's starting to come up, you know. See the sprouts coming out? Just really exciting. Last year it did not even like come up. Actually, the vines from the previous year had died, so I just grew from the very bottom last year. But this year is coming up from the shoots, which is great. So this is my second sunken in container area, and I believe this is a collard green, red Russian kale, probably another collard green. My other red curry squash, I'm just gonna let it sprawl on the ground over here. My Cherokee purple that I bought because I couldn't resist, and it's actually looking pretty good now. Fava beans that I just grew from store-bought, you know, beans, and they sprouted, which is amazing. So now I'm gonna have fresh fava beans, which are so much more tasty than like dried ones, you know. And then just a few leftover rainbow Swiss chard, bright lights I think variety, and just an extra pea there. That's about it. And I did plant some onions, if you can see, like in between them. Hopefully they get enough water. And then along in these sunken in containers along the fence in the back, I'm gonna grow loofah, which is actually a vegetable in Chinese cooking when you let it grow young. You know, if you let it get to full maturity, you get the loofah sponge, which is interesting. And then I did plant a few extra of the fava beans, thinking that it won't even come up, but it actually did, which is pretty cool, but might be a little bit tight for space in that container now because loofah grows like crazy, right? And then for my extra collards and kale plants, I decided to just put it in the ground, just dig it up, put some fertilizer, and they are looking good. They're looking better than the ones I put in the sunken container, which is funny, but I did put them in later, so probably that's why. I think this is a walking stick cabbage, right? Walking stick cabbage that I actually stepped on, even though I put the you know, green wiring around it, I still stepped on it, and I think that's what saved it from getting crushed by my clumsiness. And moving on, see, the clover is coming back with a vengeance, right? My cherry tree, look how amazing this looks. Like all the cherries are coming up. So exciting. But I do have to finish put the net around it because the birds will definitely devour it if I didn't do that, which is what happened last year. And another white Russian kale. In this bed are two of my squashes. So I think this is a delicata and I forgot what's the other one I grew again. Delicata and red curry. So did I go through red curries? Oh, so I think over there is a delicata then. Yeah. And then over here are my tomatoes, more tomatoes, a chocolate cherry, a pineapple, a green hybrid, a zebra bumblebee, and this one is a subarctic plenty, which is one of the two determinate varieties that I grow, you know, so I should get tomatoes earlier from this variety, and you can see flowers are already starting to show up, which is awesome. And then over here, I'm actually growing some Malabar spinach, hopefully up along the lamppost. There's one that's starting to come up, and these are my two spaghetti squashes that might be a bush variety that I might have breeded, which would be pretty cool, right? And then one of my fava beans that I didn't think would even come up, but did. So along here, I have another walking stick cabbage. So yeah, like I was saying, this was such a wasted space along here, so I decided to grow some bush beans, and I did irrigate the area, so it should be okay, should get enough water. And they came up pretty well. Some onions interplanted with that, more beans, two different like green bush bean varieties, but I can't remember. It's like tender green and something else, I forgot. So along here, oh excuse that noise, it's the ultrasonic pest repeller. And these are my cucumbers along here. I'm going to grow it up along the fence if it actually gets that big this year. And varieties here I'm growing are the crystal white and a Libby. Oh, did I have a Libby over there? Maybe, I don't know. No, I think a Libby's just over here. Along here are my beans, and You know, I do struggle to grow the Asian pole long bean, yard long bean, or whatever you want to call it. But they are coming up, at least in this planter, which is great. Did lose a few to rotting in the ground, so I had to replant some instead, like with Italian pole beans. Right, and then I just put the string up along there. So more tomatoes than my eggplants for the back end that went up. So this is another subarctic plantee, you know, and then in the springtime I planted some quick harvest bok choy, the small varieties, so they're basically ready to harvest. And an eggplant, this is the Asian long, I think, and that pepper is the Big Jim, which are from the seed that I saved myself from last year. Just testing if it grows better than the seed that I got originally. This is another black cherry. This is another indigo apple. And seeing like the yield comparison from like one that's grown in a container like this and ones that are grown in the ground over there. Right. So this is a dark cherry. This is an early California wonder, and around there are just some spinach. And this is another Asian long eggplant. And this is a coral bell pepper. And that is a classic, as what the label called it, eggplant that I just bought. Couldn't resist, you know, like I say, it's a bigger eggplant because I don't have those bigger varieties grown myself. This is one of my white Russian kales in ground that's looking really good, better than the ones like that are in the pots. My extra Brandywine that I put in ground, and it's looking okay. The leaves are kind of yellow, but the new leaves are looking green, which is good. You know, and that's about it for the backyard. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you like my videos. See you next time. Right, sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. So this is my compost bin, right? And it's doing so well this year because, well, it's not even a hot compost. It's more like a warm compost bin now because I compost with a lot of leaves, and worms just love that, you know. But another living creature that loves this compost pile are the voles here. So when I was digging this side up the other day to here, I found like 6 babies, believe it or not. Anyways, so a while back we ate just like store-bought like butternut squash, you know, and the seeds were like fresh, really good, and it just germinated into the compost pile like crazy. So I have to thin this out, but I'm gonna let it grow. You know what? I'm gonna let it grow and see what happens. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Bye.